But speaking of the misuse and abuse of pandemic power, the Ninth Circuit finally adjudicated whether or not the different cities and counties and state government actors in California who used as soon as the pandemic came along, they said, you know what's really scary? Well, churches are scary. We got to shut those down. That's, COVID spreads there a lot. Small stores, it spreads there a lot too. Your small businesses and gun stores and rifles ranges. So if they put a 48-day closure order in the name of COVID on all gun shops, finally the Ninth Circuit got around to saying, oh, you know what? That was never legal. That was a violation of the Second Amendment, clearly. And they're like, well, what was it about guns? Like you could go and walk. That was okay. You could jog. You could bicycle. Bicycling was definitely totally okay. But somehow if you go outside to shoot a gun, no, that's when COVID happens.
Well,
COVID magically happened wherever they had their political adversaries. Churches.
In fairness, Robert, I skimmed through it. Well, they shut down gun shops, so they said you can't get ammo, you can't procure firearms. Now, I'm reading this, and I'm reading that. I'm just saying, okay, fine. Second Amendment shall not be infringed. The question is this: like, what does that mean? Does that mean that all shops have to remain open? Shall not be infringed versus not. And by the way, so nobody accuses me. I don't agree with this. I think this was all egregious to begin with. Create backlogs, make it more difficult. It is doing indirectly what you're not allowed to do directly. I just think like a lawyer. They're going to say, well, you can own it. You can do whatever you want with your firearm, but we're just saying that the stores cannot provide ammunition. And you have no constitutional right to a store.
And you can't go to the range. Basically, both of those are Second Amendment rights. And so in order to restrict that, they needed to have, in my view, strict scrutiny. That's what the Ninth Circuit said. Now, this is Ninth Circuit panel. The lead judge, Van Dyke, is one who's been very critical of the Ninth Circuit on other Second Amendment cases. And he wants to continue to provoke until the Supreme Court takes up and clarifies what the Second Amendment means. So he wrote a particularly aggressive opinion on the subject. But it didn't even meet intermediate scrutiny because this was another case when the evidence was tested, the state didn't have any. They're like, well, what's your evidence as to why gun shops are a unique COVID risk? What's your evidence that outdoor gun range is a unique COVID risk? That somehow a bicycle shop is not, that buying other things are not, that going outdoors for other purposes is not. How is it that guns are uniquely dangerous from a COVID perspective? And they had none. They had no evidence whatsoever. It makes it clear how just blatantly political it was.
Oh, no, I would say in Canada, they decided that dog runs were COVID. Outdoor dog runs. They fucking locked our outdoor dog runs. A padlock on a dog because they decided that's where COVID spread.
Well, that's why the Amy Cooper incident happened, really. New York City did the same thing. They shut down a lot of the dog runs throughout New York City. So the only place you could take your dog were other places in the park. But there were all these older rules that said you couldn't have your dog there during this period of time or that period of time. The only reason why she had her dog out away from the dog runs were closed. Nice. Otherwise, that whole incident never even occurs.
But there was something in that order that I found peculiar. I want to make sure I understand it. One of the judges, I forget which, said, "Look, this is going to go to the panel anyhow." Oh, no, sorry, this is going to go to a full en banc review because it was only a panel of 3, and they're going to overturn it. And it was as though it was a jab at the full panel, suspecting that the full panel.
But actually, that's the judge who wrote the majority opinion. He was explaining, like one of the concurring judges was like, we don't have to get into some of these issues because this doesn't meet any level of scrutiny. And the lead judge, Van Dyke, was like, look, we need to clarify these issues because strict scrutiny should be applying. And so, I understand the en banc panel will probably find some crazy pretext to reverse this one like they reversed other gun cases in the Ninth Circuit. And that'll just prove my point. I actually think the en banc panel will not take this case up because this was such an egregious example of it's not the strongest gun control argument. Just saying, because of COVID, we had to shut you down.
And just so we're also clear on the facts, it was not a blanket order for any and all stores. It was gun ranges, ammo shops, and gun stores.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was obvious. They targeted churches and gun stores and small businesses. The three sources of opposition to Democratic monopoly control in the state of California. I mean, it was obvious what they were doing, and everybody knew it. And the courts just didn't deal with it out of the gate. And this is who they're deferring to. These obvious political decisions that there's another lockdown case, like a lot of the vaccine cases, that when the evidence is tested in court, the government position fails over. They have almost no evidence. I mean, the Ninth Circuit pointed it out. There's like this didn't even meet rational basis review because there was no basis to target gun agencies and gun companies and gun shops and rifle and ranges. So, but it's a good ruling for future purposes. I had encouraged people to continue to fight these cases because it will stop it from happening next time, hopefully.
And Sauris, looking at Sauris. You know what I'm saying. First of all, that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least a 7-point buck in that avatar. If I can break out some terminology, I hope I got it right. How big is it though that the Ninth Circuit even admits that Second Amendment rights exist after ignoring it for so many years?
This is the pro Second Amendment panel that was on this panel. So they have been reversed in a bunch of other cases, but it was just, I think it's too egregious even for the Ninth Circuit to try to reverse. The liberal majority that wants gun control doesn't want to take this case up because it's so obvious. There was no excuse for what took place here.
It's also presumably not very effective a way to do it anyhow. I mean, I presume you can get ammo via Amazon. I mean, if it's anything like Canada, or you can order it online. Gun ranges, I guess you could use if you have a big enough property, backyard space. But
that's been subject to its own disputes in Pennsylvania. Where they tried to shut that, they tried to prevent that on nuisance on zoning grounds. They tried to keep and they lost that too. So because but so it's a very good decision on lockdowns, good decision on protecting the Second Amendment in all the ways it can apply to protect you. So that was good ruling.
Yeah, you know, my only problem, Robert, I'm seeing the only good news I'm seeing is coming out of certain states in the States. No good news coming out of Canada, and as far as I'm concerned, only bad news in my spirit. Hold on a second. Someone says, Viva, not in California. Ammo cannot be ordered online. Oh, well,
yeah, no, not in California.
That's a problem.
California.
Of course you can, because that's how you spread COVID. Okay, so I'm joking. What do we have here? Gun ammo stores and shooting ranges, eh? And churches too. Sounds suspiciously like an old Obama saying. Something about clinging to guns and Bibles, maybe. No question. Exactly. So everyone is correcting me in the chat. People, I'm sorry. In Canada, you can. I guess in the States, you can't.
You can in some states, not in California. California tries to do everything they can to restrict things.
Okay. Viva Fry, what is my P.O. box for receiving food? It's in the info. It's in the about on my channel. Okay, so hold on. Let's get to the other one before I forget which was. Let's do it. Speaking of ammo and food, Peta. Okay, so Peta, it's not a thoroughly interesting judgment. If anyone, I did a video on it today because I was stuck up in the cottage with no car for an office. But the thumbnail has Pamela Anderson with one of the previous Peta ads. Pamela Anderson's body has all of the portions indicated for the meat that you would eat off a cow to sensitize people to the fact that humans have the same body parts. First of all, Peta, very ineffective ad because look, I have such a dirty joke and I can't say it because I know kids are watching.